We're having open and honest conversations about mental health and well-being. We should talk about it with Maira Ansari on Wave Now.
Hey, good morning, folks. Thanks so much for joining me here on Wave Now's We Should Talk About It. I'm Maira Ansari. Got a new guest with us today. Really excited to introduce you all to Gail Bibb. She's a psychotherapist with Revive Counseling and Wellness here in Louisville. Welcome to the podcast. So happy to have you, Gail. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and as you all know, I like to talk about mental health and how important it is to have an open and honest conversation about how we're feeling and the importance of taking care of us and our mental well-being. And Gail, you've been in Louisville for some time. You're a Louisville native. Tell us about Revive Counseling and Wellness.
Well, Revive Counseling and Wellness is really dear to my heart. It's my private practice. I started right after graduate school. And it came from a passion of me wanting to help our families reconnect to their overall sense of wellness, not only just individually, but holistically. So I have started the practice so that I can have more flexibility in the services that I provide. So we do a lot of individual talk therapy, but we also do other practices like wellness practices, including Reiki, nutrition, and even fitness coaching.
What is Reiki? That was one of the things on your website when I looked earlier. I was like, I don't know much about it. What is it?
A lot of people don't know much about Reiki. Reiki is an energy healing. It originated in Japan. In fact, the word itself is just energy life force, universal life force. And so it does a little bit of energy work. It's the principle that we all have energy fields in our body, and sometimes through trauma, stress, or even chronic pain, those can become blocked. And so the technician or the practitioner uses positive energy to kind of help balance out and stabilize the system.
So if you have a question for Gail and you're listening in to us right now live at the moment, feel free to put it in the comment section and I'll try to get it over to Gail if it's related to mental health. And we'll try to answer your questions today. Gail, what are you seeing with folks? Are people more now likely to be like, you know what, therapy, that's something I need to explore? Or, you know what, I'm not sharing my problems with everybody. It can be a tough thing for some folks.
I think so. I think, though, after the pandemic, we've noticed a lot of people have become more isolated and more to themselves. And so the need for mental health and well-being is more accessible, at least talked about, I think, since the pandemic. And it can be hard when you're thinking about, talking to anybody about your problems. There could be a lot of stigma around it. I think, though, really having a safe place to be able to process your emotional concerns could be a very healthy way for you to heal.
And I think for a lot of folks, they think, well, I don't have the time or the resources to do that. You'll be surprised at the options that are out there.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are interested in using their health benefits with insurance. And so that's one way that you can do it, as well as private pay. There are other ways to do it. But there are different ways that you can kind of bridge the gap with kind of taking that first step to put your mental well-being first.
I think for, when I started therapy, it's kind of like finding the right shoe, right? You have to find the shoe that fits you, that feels comfortable, and you have a connection with that person. That person gets me. Or, you know what, I feel comfortable around that person. That's really important when you're seeking out therapy.
I think so. I think sometimes people take advantage of doing consultations when they're trying to find the best fit. I think if you know your presenting issue, like say you have struggles with anxiety, you're probably really going to want to find a therapist that can really highlight and help you with that particular problem. With Revive, we do a little bit of everything. And so having a therapist that has a little bit of information about different things can really help. So when you're looking for a therapist, I think it's important to know what your end goals are of what you're wanting to work on and what they specialize in and if it's a good fit.
So we have a first question. I want to get it over to you. Cheryl Ducey wants to know, addressing chronic pain remedy other than drugs. Is that something you can talk about?
Yeah, I think with holistic practices, we don't we don't shun away from using medicine if you have to, but it is not our first modality to recommend to clients. With chronic pain, it can be really difficult because, again, trauma and tension can store itself in the body. And so being able to have access to releasing that from the body is what we really work on with energy healing. Also, somatic practices that we can teach our clients, mindfulness, to help them to release that stored tension, get them from a sympathetic system of where fight and flight is where it's holding that tension to a parasympathetic nervous system of where you're using relaxation techniques to be able to stabilize your overall body.
So how do you do that?
Well, so we can do something.
Okay, yeah, let's try it.
Okay, so one things that I really like to do is a butterfly hug. Okay. So what you're going to do is take your hands over across your chest.
Okay. You can do this too if you're watching.
If you're watching, just put your hands over across your chest. You want to get into a position that you feel comfortable.
Okay.
Okay. And you want to just bilaterally tap left and right, very slow. And as you're doing this, sometimes you like to lower your gaze and close your eyes if that feels comfortable. But what you're doing here is kind of coming to your body and just recognizing your temperature of even your breath. And what you want to do is go to a place in your mind that feels safe, relaxing, and calming. This could be, a comfortable place in your home. It could be a rocking chair in your grandparents' home. It can even be a place on the beach or somewhere you've never been before. And what you want to do is just allow your mind to calmly take you there. And while you're there, just allow your 5 senses to be with you, whatever you can see, smell, touch, taste, or hear. And just tap into that as you're leaning into that space. And tapping into your body uses both sides of the brain, the left and the right, of your logic and your emotion. And when you're tapping on both sides, it brings you to a level of calm. And while you're there, just ground yourself in a summary statement that I am safe here. Pairing that with your breath, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. When that feels complete, you can bring yourself back into the room.
What does breathing do? That did feel very relaxing.
Yeah.
What does breathing do for us?
Breathing helps you to calm your nervous system and get you to a place of balance. And so breathing allows you to connect with your second brain, which is your diaphragm or your gut, which communicates to your nervous system that you are calm and that you are safe and that you can have peace wherever you are. It's one of the easiest ways that you can be able to kind of reconnect with yourself. You can do it at any place, in your car, at the workplace, really anywhere.
So Cheryl wants to know, where can I get help with these sort of ways of therapy? Cheryl, in this link, I have connected you all to Revive Counseling and Wellness. This is just a look at their website, but it's here in the link. So if you want to check it out, just click on it, and that's where you can get some more information on the just options that you have at Revive and how Gail and her practice can help you. Gail, do you think some people think, I've got some issues. Tapping ain't just going to work for me?
Well, I don't know if people are, I think they say that because it's a lack of awareness or education, but tapping is no different than taking ibuprofen, right? The first time that you take ibuprofen, maybe you think it works, maybe you think it doesn't, but it is the practice of allowing your body to connect with the meridian points in your body to be able to help you to release tension. And so tapping is not just through, one modality. In fact, EFT is another technique called emotional freedom technique.
Okay.
And this is where you use tapping to access different meridian points of your body to release pressure points. And when you do this, I'll show you a bit of it.
Okay. Let's see.
So when you are allowing yourself to use tapping, what you want to do is recognize whatever is the tension that is real for you in the moment. Say it's anxiety, say it's depression. You don't want to ignore that. In fact, you want to acknowledge it head on and accept it and embrace it. But when you're embracing it, you're also giving yourself the courage and the confidence to say that you can handle it in any given moment.
Okay.
So what you want to do is take your fingers on the inside of your eyebrow, okay? And then you want to tap here. And whatever the summary statement is, you can say, even though I'm feeling overwhelmed and stressed at work, And just tap it in. On the side of your eye, bring your hands over. I love and accept myself. And just breathe that in. Underneath the eye, even though I feel overwhelmed and stressed, breathe it out. Underneath your nose, I love and accept myself.
I noticed I was holding my breath throughout that whole
Yeah,
thing.
you can feel that tension in your body.
Yeah.
Top of your chin, even though I'm overwhelmed and stressed, top of the chin. There you go. Breathe it in and out. I love and accept myself. You're on top of your collarbone, just top of your chest. Good. Even though I'm overwhelmed with all of my responsibilities, breathe it out. I love and accept myself. Then you're going to take your hand underneath your arm,
Okay.
keeping that summary statement, even though I feel overwhelmed and stressed. And we're going to finish it on the top of the head. I love and accept myself. And honestly, even in this moment, that feels very relaxing.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to do. You want to be able to promote the body to get into a position of relaxation. The body's designed to heal itself, but it cannot do that when we're in fight or flight, right? When we're overwhelmed. And so we want to promote relaxation so the body can be able to be in the position of healing.
I noticed throughout that whole thing, if you hadn't said breathe, I was holding my breath the whole time. Why am I... Is it just anxiety?
No, we're not normally consciously aware of breathing, right? And sometimes we are just moving through life, right? Just holding in a tense position, right?
Yeah, because we think about how we operate as a society. It is go, 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 go. You have to dash from one place to the other. You're clocking in, clocking out at work. You're getting the kids. You're doing all that. It is really chaotic.
Yeah, we don't slow down.
No.
Right? We're literally machines moving. I don't think that we do anything mindfully, which mindfulness is just being present of your, being presently aware without judging yourself. And so when we're constantly driving and eating, doing multiple things at once, we don't have the ability to just relax, right? Because we're constantly on the go. And so for you to notice that tension, imagine going through a whole day of that, right? And not allowing yourself to relax or release that.
Absolutely. Okay, so you had mentioned a couple of things with the breathing and, it's kind of a full circle thing that we have to keep in mind, right? It's not just being mindful, which is taking time for yourself and doing these things. It's not selfish.
Oh, I like to say that focusing on your mental well-being is not a luxury. It is a necessity. You should absolutely prioritize your mental well-being just like you do anything else, your health. Because mental health is health, and we have to make sure that we're focusing on that so that we can be the best in any other area of our lives.
Talk to me about nutrition. How important is that in our mental well-being?
Yeah, nutrition is a key part in our mental well-being. It's not only what we do or what we say, but it's also what we do in fuel in our body. And so having access to healthy foods, whole foods, right? We know that if you eat processed sugar or high sugar processed foods, that can contribute to high anxiety. It can contribute to depression. It can contribute to cognitive functions or ailments. And so access to whole foods, leafy greens, just an overall balanced plate can help you to decrease your anxiety symptoms, can help you to decrease your depression symptoms. And so food really relates to your mood. And being able to have the right foods to fuel your body is really important. And so we don't only just talk about talk therapy, but how is your lifestyle contributing to your symptoms? So if you're drinking coffee all day and you're always on edge and you're feeling anxious, that could be a part of why you don't feel very calm or relaxed. And so we really look at how your lifestyle impacts your overall well-being, and nutrition is one of those things that we really help our clients to talk about. And we also know that with nutrition, we feel good when we are healthy.
Yeah.
And so it's also a booster for your self-esteem.
Unfortunately, in our society, access to healthy food is not always there. And it's hard for communities when you don't have a good grocery store close by, when you just have convenience stores or gas stations, that's your only option. How do we have so much work to do as society, but how do we take steps to overcome some of that?
Yeah, when I was in college, one of the focuses that I really aimed on was to talk about the food deserts in West Louisville and the communities that don't have access to healthy foods, fruits, vegetables, and the things that your body really needs. And there's a conversation that we need to continue to have is to give access to those communities. But again, we can also see a correlative connection to communities that don't have access to adequate care and how that impacts their overall mental well-being. And so I think that there's lots that we can do in order to bridge the gap for that. I think the first thing that I would probably talk about is what are the small things that you can do to change your own kitchen, right? So smoothies or even juicing could be a really helpful way to kind of get some of those nutrients in your diet because we don't always eat our fruits and vegetables, but if we can drink them, right, we can have a little bit more access to have them.
And when you say that, you don't mean going out and getting a bottle of orange juice or apple juice. You're talking about, getting the nutrients from, not all the sugar.
No, exactly. So I'm just talking about if you have, just your fruits and vegetables and it's not something that you're consuming daily, to put it in a blender, put it in a juicer, right, to extract those nutrients and to be able to have it in a drink that you can just kind of take with you and you're getting that.
Okay. And also exercise is just critical with all of that, right? Sometimes I know I'm feeling really stressed out. The best thing for me is getting in that walk. Just that quiet space. Maybe I listen to a podcast or some calming music or whatever it is to get me out of that negative funk that I'm in.
Yeah, moving your body, just like with energy, it moves energy out whatever the tension is, right? It helps you to move that out. And exercise doesn't have to look like a 60-minute,
it doesn't have to be a boot camp, right? It doesn't have to be something that you're scared to death to do every day and you're like, I'm not going to be able to walk after this.
No, not at all. Like you said, a brisk walk can just be very grounding, connecting you to nature. And again, just moving your energy out of your body. Again, also that bilateral stimulation of left and right. When you're moving your body, you're actually processing the things that you otherwise have not said out loud. And so if you're already thinking things through while you're walking, that bilateral stimulation between left and right movements can help you to process and regulate whatever your thoughts are. But even yoga, right? Just gentle exercise can be very restorative to your body. It can promote relaxation, and it's overall really good for you.
I know that when I feel like I'm about to lose it, like that's what I'm like, I'll be back in 20 minutes. I just need to take a minute for myself.
I need a break.
I need a break. And after I do that, I'm like, okay, good. Because if I had not, I would have in that moment unraveled or said things that I would have regretted. And sometimes, you really regret doing that.
And sometimes we just need a pause, right, between whatever the stimuli is and the reactivity time. And so walking can give you that nice separation between your stimuli and your response.
For folks that say, you know what, Gail, there's no place for me to go work out in my neighborhood. I don't have a gym close by. I don't have my neighborhood, it's just not very walking friendly. How do we overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, and you really don't have to have very much. If you have a 4x4 square in your house anywhere, right, you can move your body with even just releasing some tension. A somatic release is just shaking.
Yeah.
You can just do that even now, right? And you can just kind of loosen your body up.
Shake it
so
off.
You can, literally shaking it off.
Yeah.
The lymphatic system in your body can help you to reset that just by doing a shake and release. But jumping jacks, right? Just up and down squats can be something that could be very helpful for you, just to get your heart rate going just a little bit more than what you normally would. You can do that very effectively even in the corner of your room.
Yeah. Put on YouTube. There's a million videos out there. Sometimes that's what I do. I love to dance Zumba. So I just do a little Zumba in the morning, and I sometimes dread it. And then after I'm done, I'm like,
you feel good, right?
Yeah,
you feel so much refreshed.
It sets the tone for the day, right? It just kind of.
If you can start your day with movement, I absolutely think it sets the tone. I think it also produces the endorphins of just energy, right? Giving you a little bit more pep in your step.
Talk to me about what you hear from folks in the community. If there's apprehensions when it comes to mental health, how do you have that conversation with folks that are like, you know what, it's not for me? How do you address that?
Yeah, I don't know that a lot of people know what to expect when they come to therapy. In fact, the few of the clients that I see, they come in very anxious, or, just not knowing how it's going to go, especially if you've never had that experience before. But therapy offers a safe container of no judgment to where you can really have an unbiased opinion. This person does not know you from a can of paint, right? And so there is often just the no judgment stigma that is attached to the empathetic relationship that a therapist provides. But I would say challenge yourself, right? Because if you do the same things expecting different results, you'll never see what you can accomplish. And so sometimes the fear doesn't go away. You have to do it afraid sometimes. But just like you said, in the morning where you're a little hesitant about moving your body, after you do it, you feel so much better. And that's the same with therapy.
Have you noticed, are there certain parts of our community, certain demographics that are just like, you know what, therapy's not for me?
Honestly, I think I would love to see a lot more men come into therapy.
Yep.
I think our society says that men have to be so strong, heroic, and, not to be emotional expressive. And I think that can be very damaging to, holding that and not having a safe place to land it. And I think that men need to have more access and even more comfortability with knowing that it's okay to go to therapy.
It's okay. It doesn't make you weak at all.
Not at all. In fact, in my opinion, I think the strongest man, and maybe a lot of women can agree, is when they feel safe enough to be vulnerable, right? It takes a lot of courage, a lot of bravery to be able to step into that place and to own that as your truth, and to feel okay to do that.
And I like to think that, for the most part, mental health therapists, psychotherapists, y'all have heard it all. Like, there's really nothing, I'm sure, that really floors you and be like, okay, you've heard quite a bit. You may feel like this is the most shameful thing that I have felt or experienced. I did this, but more than likely you've heard someone else share that similar struggle.
I think that some of the great benefits of it, because I do hear a lot, and whether I have experienced it, as an individual, when I'm sharing others' examples that they've also felt that and have felt similarly to those situations, it brings a lot of comfort, a lot of empathy in the room. And so not many things can surprise a therapist because we do have front chair to being able to walk alongside of our clients in their distress. But, we're all multifaceted, we're very diverse, but there's you're not alone in it, is what the point is.
For you in particular, what is your clientele mostly coming to you? Is it marriage counseling? Is it, just stress or depression? What is mostly that you're seeing?
Yeah, usually my demographic is really diverse, but primarily I would say that I have a lot of couples that come in, and I love working with couples. I believe that if we have a strong family unit, then we can really have strong children. And if we have strong children, then we can have strong communities. And then, we can just kind of bridge the gap from there. But not only that, women, they don't have any problem coming to therapy, and they find it to be very helpful. I have had, as of late, a lot of adolescents coming in, ages from 12 to 18. And it's interesting to have conversations with that demographic to kind of see what's really happening with how their mental health is impacted by social media, obviously school interactions and different things like that. But stress, anxiety, and depression are some of the main things that I see come on the couch.
I was just having this conversation, Gail, with somebody. I'm so grateful that I didn't grow up as a child with social media, right? Our lives, we look back at it and we think, wow, things were so simple. And I have a 9 and 11-year-old, and I feel for them. You know, one has a phone, he's always on it, and I'm always yelling at him about it. And, you know, there's so much pressure out there for our kids. It's too much.
You know, it really is. And if we're honest, it's a lot of pressure for adults. And I think, you know, my generation, I think we're at the right before it was super popular, but we're right on the cutting edge to where we can get in or we can get out, and it cannot be super impactful. But I think it's comparison, right? We're looking at access to people's lives all day long, and people are only highlighting their highlight reels, right? The good things in their life. And so if we feel like that we're having to perform, then that pressure to always be on and have something to showcase can be very pressurous for younger people. And it's just overwhelming, right? It's just a lot of access all the time. So I think having the wherewithal to be able to have some time set apart to say that, you know, your phones have it to where you can put it on, you know, limits to how much access that you're giving yourself, or even just taking some fastings away from social media can be very helpful.
Very helpful. I'm glad you said that, because I went through this phase, and I know some of you probably, you know, you're on your phone, you're just like doom scrolling, right? You're just, you know, the next thing you know, 30 minutes of your life is gone with no like real purpose or anything. And then I started to get really like, oh, so-and-so had this beautiful family shooter. They went on vacation and they blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. You know, and then it's like immediately like you're like feeling like, what I didn't do is, you just start to not feel so great about yourself. I took Facebook off my phone because I was like, you know what? I can't. I just can't. And it was the best decision I ever made.
How did you feel afterwards? What did you notice?
I was more present.
Yeah.
Definitely more present. I wasn't feeling so consumed with what other people were doing.
Yeah.
I felt happier with what was in front of me.
Yeah, and I think that's mindfulness, right? It's just kind of being present and aware of your own environment, enjoying the moment. I don't know how many times we're, you know, at a concert or something and everybody has their phone on. And I mean, that's great, you know, to capture the moment, but to really just immerse yourself in it, enjoy it. We talk about that a lot too in terms of like mindful eating. How many times do you just pick up food and you just
eat it when you're not even hungry,
and you don't even taste it.
Yeah, yeah.
You're just
eating it.
down.
Yeah.
Exactly. But if you're ever wanting to practice a level of mindfulness, practice mindful eating. Just pick up your item, look at it, right? Smell it, put it on your mouth, taste it before you even chew it. Just notice what your mouth is doing and how you're interacting with it, and then allow yourself to swallow it that way. It's a different experience when you're fully present in it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah, you should.
Okay. Gail, we talked about a lot of things. What am I not asking you that you feel like folks would really benefit from hearing about today?
Well, that's a really good question. I think that the topics are endless when it comes to mental well-being. And so I think one of the things that we're not talking about is trauma. And how trauma is not just big events, right? It's not just wars. It's not just abuse. It's not just car accidents. But trauma can be the things that were not done, right? The neglect, the emotional abandonment. It could be bullying. It could be just perceptions of self. How we've interacted with trauma and how trauma stays with us until we process it out. And so not just anxiety and depression, but trauma has different ways to kind of bring us to the memories, I guess, that are tied to trauma that can be from childhood that we may not have access to until we're talking through it and working it.
Does it just ever go away?
It does not. You know, people say that what happens over time, you know, things heal with time. It doesn't heal with time. What you do in that time frame is what brings about healing. And so I think the awareness of knowing that there's access to being able to help you is a good step. But if you don't talk about it, you don't address it, trauma has a way of storing itself in the body, creating a level of inflammation, and can cause disease, which can manifest to disease in the body.
That's interesting. Yeah, I know sometimes I've done it. I'm sure y'all have done it. You sweep it under the rug. Just pretend it didn't happen or ignore it and it'll just go away, and it doesn't.
Yeah, well, I think sometimes, chronic avoidance is something that we do because we just, like you say, we just keep moving, right? Where these machines go, go, go. But I think sometimes when you're sweeping things under the rug, it's that one trigger that reminds you of everything that's ever been under there, and it'll come to you when you least expect it. And a lot of people, that's when they come to see me. It's when they've swept it under the rug for so long to where they no longer can ignore it, and then it's time to deal with it.
Is it a good idea, like, okay, I if someone's out there like, you know what, it wouldn't hurt me to just go and talk to somebody just about stuff. Nothing in particular, like that. If you haven't gone through a traumatic experience, but this happened or this whatever, just sometimes unloading on someone, it kind of helps, right?
Yeah, I have a lot of clients that come in and just say, hey, we're just venting today, right? I just need to get it out. And a lot of people think that that's a really good way to do it in terms of therapy because you're not burdening your friends, right? We may say the same thing all day long and we just want to get it out. But if we're, feeling overwhelmed with the people that we have, having an unbiased person can really help you to be able to organize your mind. An organized mind is a healed mind.
Okay, perfect. All right, this has been great.
Thank you so much,
Gail. I appreciate your time. Again, folks, if you all want to check out Gail's practice at Revive Counseling and Wellness, I put a link here. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
All right, I'm Maira Ansari with Gail Bibb of Revive Counseling and Wellness. Have a great day.